John Weiss here from Heritage Auto. In a month, you'll either be driving a new Jeep or you won't be. And I promise, life is more fun in a Jeep. And right now is perfect timing because it's Jeep 4x4 season. Plus, we've got hometown deals on our full Jeep lineup.
Purchase a new 2023 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon 4x4 and get $6,453 below MSRP, with employee pricing now available for everyone. See the dealership for more details.
These deals won't be around forever. Come in to Heritage Auto today, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Monday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Buck Sexton will be back with me as we roll into a brand new week, discussing all of the insanity that built up over the weekend to get you ready for the ongoing battles of the Trump legal process and the fallout of the Republican debate. That's Monday, Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on this cloudy Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden. And, you know, it kind of feels like summer tried to make a comeback on us towards the end of this week.
It was really hot yesterday.
It was hot and muggy.
Yeah, it was like the humidity, because I'm like looking at the temperature going, dang, it's like 87, but it felt like it was 97.
It was really hot and muggy.
Yeah, but
that's kind of how Mother Nature rolls around here.
We'll take the moisture. We'll take the moisture. So it's been a good month so far for rain. And we've had some great weather conditions, and my tomatoes are ripening up like crazy, and my peppers are ripening up like crazy. So that means we're having some good warm temperatures. Yeah, so that's nice. It's nice to not be 1st of September and the tomatoes aren't like really cooking
on it. We've noticed that some of our plants were a little late. Went out and checked the bean plants, and they are just covered with beans coming on. And So some of those plants may have been a little late with just the late spring and wet and the snow and everything else, but it's definitely coming along now.
We picked beans this week, too. So
nice.
I went out there and we picked all of our beans, and there's more coming. And this is actually a second the second crop. Like they've come. Okay. This is the second time they've come on, but they're getting spider mites. So spider mites are starting to pop up, and there's spider mites showing up in my cucumbers as well too. So it's that time of year for spider mites also.
Well, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of calls about insects right now because it just seems like grasshoppers are taking over northern Utah.
Yeah. And they're not little anymore. No, they're big. Yeah, they're big. So they're munching on my corn, and I need to spray one more time for the season, and the corn's just dropping so much pollen right now. The bees are everywhere. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'll wait a little bit till the bees aren't all over it, because they're leaving holes in my corn. But my corn looks amazing, and this is corn that I planted on, I think, the 26th of June.
Oh, this is the end of June.
So this is a late. This is a late crop because we were gone for a couple of weeks in July, and so I didn't get the corn planted until we got back. So it was the end of June. So it's really come on quickly. It's got at least 2 ears per stalk. They look amazing. Like the corn looks awesome. So very excited for the corn. And we've been growing a lot of pumpkins and winter squashes, especially for the pumpkin festival. It's coming up in a month now. So we got the pumpkin festival in a month. And I've got a couple giant pumpkins that I've been given a plant or two to try. And we got those planted the end of June, too. But I think I've got one that's probably close to 100 pounds right now.
Already?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's coming along quite nicely. We'll see. Definitely not going to be the grand prize winner
Yeah.
in the pumpkin festival. But I've got 2 really big ones that are coming along very nicely. So I'm kind of excited about that.
All right.
So we'll see. It's like big enough I could barely get it in a wheelbarrow right now. That's
pretty good size.
It's coming along. Yeah, it's coming along. So we'll see. But it's not going to be like 1,000 pounds or anything.
No, not like the ones that we'll see a month from now.
Exactly. So on the 23rd of September, it's the Pumpkin Festival. So it's the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival. So we'll have a giant pumpkin weigh-off. So the Utah Giant Pumpkin Growers are going to be here, and they'll be doing their official weigh-off for the year. And we'll have a lot of really big pumpkins. So they're tracking about 5 pumpkins in the club right now that are really they're coming along. Yeah, they're like over 1,000 pounds, and they're thinking that they're going to probably hit in the 1,500 to 1,700 range. But they're all kind of like neck and neck. They all are kind of measuring about the same size, and so it'll be interesting to see who's ends up weighing the most. And they've got a couple growers in Idaho that are thinking about coming, and one in Wyoming, and they've all got really, really big pumpkins. Yeah. So we'll see how that works.
Okay.
It should be a lot of fun, and we'll have a whole bunch of pumpkins there for people to come in and check out, and we'll have some photo opportunities if you want to get your picture taken with the Center Street Giant. Yeah. So
plus you can vote for your favorite.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got
kind of a
People's Choice. Yeah, so that's the word I was looking for. Is like the People's Choice Award. So you get to pick your favorite one, and they all kind of look different, So they all have the unique looks to them. So we'll see how that turns out. And of course, at Anderson's this weekend, we've got our cash sale going, and we bumped the numbers up. And so today it is 40% off on all of our remaining trees and shrubs and vines and evergreens. And if you pay with cash, you get an extra 10%. So it's 50% off.
Half off.
Half off if you pay with cash. And so that will really save you quite a bit. And we've got some really nice shrubs still. We've got some great evergreens. A lot of the flowering trees are still there. We've got some good shade trees. Our newest fruit trees that came in, though, they are not on the 50% off. They're 25%. And that's just because they just came in. And so I'm not...
Those are the ones that you were waiting on.
Yeah, the ones we've been waiting all summer for. So there's some peaches, there's nectarines, there's apricots, there's cherries. Got a whole bunch of really nice trees. So some of my fruit trees are 50% off, but the new batch that just came in, they're not. I just can't justify blowing them out the door when they just came in like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and so those are 25% off with cash. So great deals going on at Anderson's this weekend. So 50% off all of our remaining nursery stock except for those fruit trees. If you pay with cash. Yeah, really, really great deal. And there's some nice stuff out there. I saw multiple trucks leave yesterday with their back ends like full.
Yeah,
with the bed full of all kinds of stuff. So.
And right now, as we're heading into the fall months where we are looking at getting a lot more moisture, this is a great time to plant.
Oh, wonderful time to plant. And then there's a lot of people planting grass. We're selling grass seed again like crazy. So this is prime time for planting grass. From now until about the 25th of September is a perfect grass planting time. If you're filling in some spots or if you're planting all new, it doesn't really matter. It's a really great time to plant. Yeah.
All right.
Good time to plant.
So we're open up the phone lines. If you have a question for Mark, you want to talk about planting maybe trees or grass, or maybe you're trying to figure out how to take care of the grasshoppers in your yard or other insects, phone lines are open at 753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868. And I've lost count how many people have asked me about grasshoppers, and I'm sure you're about even more than that. It feels like it's a losing battle, though. Really, Mark.
Yeah. I had an interview with a local group the other day where we were talking about other things, not gardening. And as I sat down, the first question they asked me was, how do we get rid of the grasshoppers? So it had nothing to do with the meeting at all, but that's what we discussed. So a lot of grasshoppers still. So we've had really great results with the repellent. I'm telling people it's like man, the repellent worked really well. I did multiple applications of the repellent throughout the summer right after I'd sprayed with insecticide. So either indoor outdoor from High Yield, the bug blaster from High Yield. They've been awesome. 7, Sayonara. They've all been very, very effective on the grasshoppers, even when they're bigger. But afterwards, I would use the repellent, and then it would be at least 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks before I'd even have to worry about spraying again, because it just kept them out of the garden. So it has been super, super effective, and we've had some really great results with it. Yeah, some really great results. So the key with the grasshoppers is to stay on top of them. Don't wait until they're out of control. Yeah, you gotta be persistent. And most people that aren't using the repellent are probably having to spray every 10 to 14 days.
So about every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Yeah, you probably should be spraying every 2 weeks. And boy, they're just decimating stuff like crazy. So I've got people bringing in little sticks. They're like, "Hey, this was my tomato plant. Used to be my tomato plant. It's a stick now."
Oh, it is. It's just ruthless. And we're finding that you just feel like you get them under control, and then a new batch comes in, and it's just
right back again. Yeah. So the key is to really spray along that property line where they're coming from the field next door or the vacant lot out back, because there's somewhere where they're coming from, and they're coming into your yard, because most of the time they won't be laying eggs in your yard. They'll be laying eggs out in areas where the soil is undisturbed, and that's where they'll lay their eggs. And then we should have quite a crop again next year of grasshoppers, so we're going to have to be prepared for it.
This is something that kind of comes in waves.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. So grasshoppers are going crazy, but a lot of other insects that we definitely need to talk about on the show today. So spider mites, big problem in my garden. Wasps, big problem at my neighbor's house. Had 3 nests on their front porch, and they were getting big. And they're very aggressive this year. Yeah, very, very aggressive. So we can talk wasps.
Okay.
And tobacco budworms have eaten half the petunias on Center Street. and we've been spraying every 2 weeks for them. But I think our last application, which was just last week, it rained really, really hard right after we sprayed, and I think it decreased the efficacy of that particular spray. And so all of a sudden this week we noticed that there were critters just munching on them, and so we've got them under control again. So probably by this time next week they'll be looking great again. But unfortunately, the tobacco budworms eat all the flowers out of the geraniums and the petunias. And so the plants look amazing, green and lush and beautiful, and there's no flowers. There's no flowers on them. And so half the street on Center Street, the flowers look great. And the other half they've been decimated. Dead. Yeah, not dead. The plants look great. There's just no blossoms. So give them a couple days, and they'll be blooming again like crazy, because they're constantly putting out flowers. So it doesn't take long for them to recover. But unfortunately, our last spray, it seems like probably the latter part of the spray got washed off before it dried, because the part we sprayed first looks like it's okay, and the part we sprayed second, not so much. So,
all right, well, we'll get to wasps. We'll talk about how to take care of those tobacco budworms, and let's go out to the phone lines first. Kathy's joining us on the line from Logan. Kathy, welcome to the Garden Guide this morning.
Thank you. We have a tree stump that is located in an elevated flower bed. We had a gentleman come out who was going to drill it out, and he said he couldn't get his machine up there, but he suggested that you had a chemical that maybe we could use. Is that an effective way to get that stump out?
It actually works really well. So the key is you got to make sure the stump is dead first. And so once it's cut down, you want to treat it with a brush and stump killer to make sure and kill the whole root system out, so you don't have live parts coming back, so you don't have suckers popping up all over. And there's a good possibility that the person who cut your tree down did that for you, but double check and make sure that they've treated that stump so that it is dead.
It fell with the snow.
Okay, so it fell down. You haven't seen any new growth coming off of the stump?
No.
Okay. All right, so that's good. It's probably dead. So there is a really nifty product, and it is called Stump Remover. And the Stump Remover, you drill a couple large holes into the trunk, depending on how big the trunk is. If it's smaller, you can just do 1 hole, but usually it's 2 holes. If they're really big, we would do 3 holes. And you put this material in the holes and then water it. and then it will start to seep into the tissue of the stump, and it will speed up the decomposition of the stump. And so it'll speed it up, so it'll break down much, much faster than it would otherwise. But there's one technique you can use that once you get that into the stump, you can actually put a little bit of kerosene on the stump and light it on fire, and it'll kind of burn like charcoal. And so it just kind of glows. So it's not going to be like a big open flame. Might be warm enough you could probably cook some hot dogs or something.
Maybe roast a few marshmallows.
But it'll burn the stump out, and it works very, very well. If you don't have anything nearby, you're afraid it's gonna get damaged by it. It would work great if you want to do that. But you can do it either way. You can do it either way, and it will get rid of that stump very quickly. And I understand the stump grinders; they're kind of big and unwieldy.
Yeah.
I get it. It's hard to get them into some areas to break those down. So.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Stump remover. It's made by High Yield, and very, very effective. It'll help a bunch.
Okay.
All right.
Is that usually a once application?
One application.
Takes you about a year or so to decompose?
If you go with the slow method, it'll decompose over about a year or two. It'll break down completely, and then you can just it'll just start falling apart. You can just dig it out.
With the shovel.
Yeah, exactly. But if you do the kerosene, it's about a month to 6 weeks. You can get that mostly gone, Kathy.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go back out to the phone lines. Joan is joining us on the line from Millville. Joan, welcome to the show.
Hi. I've got a question about onions. Ours have done really good this year, and they're huge. And some of them are falling over, and a good share of them are not yet.
Yes.
What do we need to do there?
Great question. So usually by the end of August, the onions are kind of starting to die down on their own, and the tops will kind of flop over. At my house, half my tops are completely gone because the grasshoppers ate them off, because it's like the row that's closest to the field next door. and so we lost a bunch of the tops of our onions. But when they start to when they start to fall over like that, that's a really good indication it's time to harvest your onions. And I would recommend that everyone who's listening, now's the time to probably gather your onions up and get them into storage, because if we start getting a lot of rainstorms, which kind of happens the middle part of September, it can decrease their ability to keep. And so you want to harvest those here in the next few weeks. So kind of watch the weather. If we've got dry weather for the next week or so, you want to dig your onions up, and I like to turn them upside down out in the garden so that the roots are exposed. And I'll leave them out there for a day, maybe 2 at the most, and it will dry the root system on the onions up so that the onion has stopped growing completely. If you've got onions that the tops are not dying down, usually we'll just walk down the row and just lightly kind of press on the top of the onions with your foot, and just kind of step on the tops and just kind of break them and tip them over a little bit, and that will also kind of start that curing process so that they will dry and be able to store throughout the winter time. And so you can step on those onions. Sometimes I don't even bother to do that. I just dig them up and get the root system exposed. And once that root system dries up, then they're ready to go into your curing location. And at that point, you want a warm, dry, fairly dark location. A little bit of indirect light's fine, but we don't want the sun shining right on the onions. So I'll usually put them in my barn or in the shed or in the garage or somewhere. Warm and dry. We're going to leave them there for 4 to 6 weeks, and they're going to develop that nice hard outer wrapper skin. And at that point, after they've got that nice wrapper skin, I'll cut the tops off. I'll put them in an onion bag, and I have onion bags at the store to sell. So it's about a 1 bushel bag. It's mesh, and it's perfect for storing onions and potatoes. And then you can hang it up down in your basement, cool and dry, and they'll store for months.
Great. Okay, we will get on that then.
Yep. If they're dying down on their own, it's perfect time, and I'm glad your onions look great. Mine look really good, but they're not big this year. I couldn't get them planted early enough, so my onions are barely baseball size. So we like them softball size instead, but it's okay.
Yeah, these look great, so
awesome.
We will get them harvested.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
I will expect you to bring me one, Joan.
Okay.
Thank you so much
Thanks so much
for calling this morning.
The key is you want to do that
Yeah.
at a time when it's dry, though.
Yes.
If we've got rain in the forecast. Hold off.
Hold
for
off.
A little bit.
Yeah, because you don't want the onion sitting out there to dry and then get rained on. Yeah, because then the roots that we've just dried rehydrate and they start to grow again. So we want the roots to be exposed so the sun can get them, dry those roots up, and then when that happens, then into your curing location.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we want them to go. And potatoes, my potato plants are all starting to die down too. So we got potatoes planted earlier. It was about the first part of May. We got those planted, and my potatoes are awesome this year. Like some of the best potatoes I've had for years. So they have done very, very well.
Great.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So we had dinner with some friends and family the other night, and I dug 3 hills. And they didn't all fit in my pressure cooker, So just like tons of potatoes coming off of those. So very excited about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you have a question for Mark, phone lines are open. 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. We'd love to take your call here on the Garden Guide as we're approaching the bottom of the hour. You were mentioning earlier before we took a couple calls, wasps are really bad this
year. Yep. And it kind of goes in cycles. It seems like we get lots of grasshoppers and we get lots of wasps, then we get lots of spiders after that too. So I don't know if we're going to hit that same cycle, but grasshoppers were bad. Wasps are just like out of control at the moment, and so hopefully we don't see that big outbreak of like aggressive house spiders like we normally do. But there's some really good options for the wasps. There's traps that you can catch them with, and we found that it's better to place your traps out away from like your deck, your patio, your pool. We don't want to attract them to that area. We want to attract them to a different location, and then once they get inside the trap, they can't get out. And so it's very effective at catching and retaining those wasps so they don't get back to their nest. But I do have some sprays that are very effective, and so neighbor's house had to get over there and spray for them. And there's a foaming wasp spray that works great. So that when you spray it, it'll shoot about 15 to 20 feet, and then when it hits the nest, it foams up and it will cover the nest so that they can't get out. And it's super effective because it stops them from everybody flying out and coming after you when you're trying to spray and knock those down. So very safe. Best time to do that is in the evening. So you want to wait until everybody has gone home for the night when they're all in the nest.
And you'll get the most.
Yeah. So you can really knock them down. So then you spray, you cover that wasp nest. Usually I'll wait about 5 minutes until the foam is kind of like defoamed, and so it kind of breaks down, and then I'll go spray it again.
And I love it because it kills them on contact.
It does.
And so it's it not only is effective, but it also just makes you feel good.
Yeah, it does.
Seeing those things just die.
So I sprayed the other day and got 2 good coats on there, and I thought, these nests are pretty big. I think I'll go back and I'll spray again first thing in the morning, and make sure we got everybody. And I went over the next morning, and there was just dead carcasses all over the porch. And so it's like, okay, don't need to do this. Need to do the 3rd spray. Yeah.
Now, and my daughter and I, we were actually up on our roof Monday, and she had spotted a small little wasp nest. Once we had sprayed that, we waited about 30 minutes, and then we took it down.
Yep, you want to take it down.
And so that's always a good idea to make sure you take that down so someone else doesn't take over.
So start building up. Yep. So once you spray it and you get them dead, like within 24 hours, you want to like scrape that off the eaves or wherever it's hanging out. Get them off, because if not, somebody else will decide this is a great place to build a new colony, and they'll just like move right back in.
Yeah. So make sure you knock that down, pull it out, and then just make sure. A lot of times too, you'll find a lot of larvae. That's
inside there. We don't want those going as well too. Fortunately, the sprays have a little bit of residual, and so they'll usually last for a week or 10 days. And so if you have others that are hatching out, it'll take care of those too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go back out to the phone line. Kay's joining us on the line from Logan. Kay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have got friends whose watermelon plants are dying this time of year with the watermelons half grown. And so I'm wondering, can a grasshopper kill them, or What's the problem?
I've got multiple cantaloupes and watermelons at my place, and the grasshoppers have not touched them at all this year because the leaves are kind of fuzzy and scratchy, and I don't think they like the taste of it as much. But my beans right next door to them, the grasshoppers have nibbled on those a little bit, and the corn, and they ate my onions down a little before we really got them under control. I would suspect they've probably got a little bit of spider mites because the spider mites love to get into the cucumber, melons, and cantaloupes. So the spider mites will turn them yellow, and they'll get kind of crispy as well too. So if she brought a sample in, we'd be able to tell for sure. There are a couple diseases that get into the melons, especially the watermelons, that will kill the vines, and so you might have verticillium as well too. So that's a possibility. It usually shows up in August. So a sample would be helpful. If it's spider mites, we can get it under control. If it's the verticillium, it's probably not going to come back. It shuts off the circulatory system in the plant, so it just kind of looks like it's not getting any water, even though it's got plenty, and it just kind of gradually dies off.
Okay, these I think have died fairly fast.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what to do about the verticillium wilt. Is there a prevention?
There is. So there's a really cool biofungicide that came out a few years ago, and it's called Fungicide 5, or from a different company, it's called the Complete Disease Control from Monterey, but it's the same product, but it's just packaged by a couple different companies. It's a biofungicide, so it's a bacteria, but it's a good bacteria instead of a bad bacteria. And verticillium sticks around in the soil for many, many years, and the plants will pick it up through the root system, and then it will clog up the arteries, basically the vessels that transport water and nutrient inside the plant. It'll plug those up so it can't move water and nutrient through the plant, and all of a sudden it'll just look like it's wilting, and then it will just start to die, and you're just like, dang, it looks like it's got plenty of water, but it's just dying back. It really looks like it's dying from lack of water, and that's because it can't transport that water through the plant. It just gets plugged up in those vessels, and so the Complete Disease Control will prevent it from getting infected in the first place. So I water my plants with it once every week for the first part of the season. Works on tomatoes, works on peppers, squashes, melons, cucumbers, all the plants that are susceptible to the verticillium, and I've had very, very, very good results with it. It's been awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because there are cucumbers close, and they are doing fine. Never a problem with with our cucumbers.
The cucumbers are more resilient and less likely to pick it up, but the watermelons are really susceptible to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. You have a great weekend, Kay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
All right, that clears up the phone lines as we're here at the bottom of the hour. We'll take a break for news break, and then we'll get right back, take more of your calls. If you have a question for Mark, 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. We want to talk about tobacco budworms when we come back.
Yes.
Also talk about treating your lawn right now because...
It's time.
We're going to start seeing some...
I got a great story I got to share that I got from one of my customers this week about rejuvenating his lawn. It's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so something to tease everybody to come back and listen. I got a really great planting lawn story.
Well, join us. We're going to be right back with more of the Garden Guide here on KVNU. With your KVNU News update brought to you by Maple Creek Ranch, I'm Will Feelright. Well, 3 high school football teams remain undefeated after Friday night's action as Skyview downed Morgan 45-28. It was Ridgeline also getting a win over Stansbury 28-27, and Green Canyon beat Highland 16-3. So right now the Bobcats, the Riverhawks, and the Wolves all sitting atop the standings, all at 3-0. Meanwhile, in the battle for the Golden Spike, Box Elder beat Bear River 49-28. It was Timpanogos beating Logan 34-8, and Mountain Crest losing to Pocatello 16-9. In other news, the Utah County Attorney's Office has announced that it will be launching an investigation into the fatal shooting of a Provo resident, Craig Robertson, by FBI agents back on August 9th. The incident happened as FBI agents were trying to serve an arrest warrant to Robertson's home. An FBI spokesperson said Robertson pointed a .357 revolver at the agents during the arrest attempt, leading them to shooting and killing him. Now, according to a redacted felony complaint filed in U.S. District Court, an arrest warrant was issued for Robertson after he threatened to kill an undisclosed number of FBI agents, along with making online remarks about his plans to kill the New York County District Attorney and posting that he would be using a sniper rifle when the president arrived that time in Utah. Now, as required by Utah law, the Utah County's attorney's office is looking into what happened. They're reviewing evidence from the FBI and their own team. Well, weather-wise, looking at mostly clear skies through this weekend as temperatures expected to stay right around the high 80s to low 90s, with overnight temperatures staying right around the low 60s. As looks like it's going to remain mostly clear with no real threat of any showers in the forecast through the next several days. I'm Will Feelwright for KVNU News.
From ABC Sports, I'm Mark Remillard. The Red Sox welcoming back 2018 World Series champion Mookie Betts for the first time last night since he signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Betts got the best of both worlds, a standing ovation in his first at-bat, and a win.
Freddie Freeman to face Nick Pivetta. Pitch, swung a drill to the right center field gap. That's going to get down and split the outfielders. Around third is Bush. Dodgers have the lead. Mookie Betts held at third, and in with his career best 48th double is Freddie Freeman.
The call on AM 570 LA Sports as Freddie Freeman gave LA the lead. They'd win it 7-4. The Rangers' losing streak now sits at 8 after they were battered by the Twins last night.
And the 0-1 pitch, a drive to left field and deep. Back it goes. Deep it goes. Way out of here. Home run, Correa.
TIBN on the call. Carlos Correa making it 5-1. They'd go on to win 12-2. This is ABC Sports.
This is Cache County Fire Chief Rod Hammer. Due to current and forecasted weather conditions coupled with extremely dry vegetation, the state forester, in consultation with fire officials, has determined that measures must be taken to prevent the ignition of forest and rangeland fires. Therefore, the following acts are prohibited in unincorporated Cache County and on state lands. 1. There are no open fires of any kind except within established public facilities, in improved campgrounds, picnic areas, or in permanently constructed fire pits at private homes where running water is present. There is no smoking allowed except within an enclosed vehicle, trailer, or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area that is paved or free from dry vegetation. No discharging or using any fireworks, tracer ammunition, or other pyrotechnic devices, including exploding targets. No cutting, welding, or grinding metal in areas of dry vegetation. No operating a motorcycle, chainsaw, ATV, or any other small internal combustion engine without an approved and working spark arrestor. The Cache County Fire District and the firefighters in Cache County appreciate your help.
Prices have been reduced again during Anderson's Seed and Garden Cash and Carry Sale. They've marked down all remaining trees, shrubs, evergreens, and perennials to 50% off. But if you pay with cash, you save an additional 10% off your purchase price during their annual Fall Cash and Carry Sale. That's 60% off a wide selection of top-notch plants in stock. Get them now before they're gone. But hurry while the selection is the best. Anderson's Seed and Garden, 69 West Center, Logan.
It's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And we welcome you back to the show on this cloudy Saturday morning. Failed to mention, too, kind of an exciting weekend. You've got the Top of Utah Half Marathon that's going on this weekend, and plus also the Cache Grand Fondo happening. So
all kinds of fun things happening.
Yeah.
It's
that sign that summer is winding down.
Yeah. It's surprising how many activities and things are going on in the valley that we don't really always know about.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like there's always something and people coming in.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
And here last night was the third night for high school football, and school's back in session. And next week, of course, Aggie football. And should mention, too, just a brief programming announcement. Next week, because of the Aggies, our show will actually be about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
So because of our Aggie pregame show, which will start at 8 o'clock because of a 10 o'clock tip, it's an early tip because the game is in Iowa, we'll actually bump the Garden show to Saturday afternoon. It'll immediately follow Aggie Call in our postgame show, so right about 4 o'clock here on KVNU. So just kind of take note of that. as you tune in next week, first thing in the morning to talk gardening. We're going to be talking football.
It's going to be football. So that's all right.
Excited about that one. So, but we were just mentioning as we were in the break, the cash sale going on right now at Anderson Seed and Garden.
Yes. So
up to 50% off now.
50% off if you're paying with cash. If you use a credit card, debit card, check, you're going to get 40% off still. So you still get a really great deal, but you can get that extra discount, that extra 10% off if you pay with cash. And there's some really nice trees, some nice shrubs, some evergreens, some vines. I think there's some clematis left out there, a few honeysuckles, some really nice plants. Yeah. So 50% off if you pay with cash, discount at Anderson's. Great time to do some planting. And we just got garlic in yesterday, too. So lots of varieties of garlic. I think there's 14 varieties of garlic right now, and I've got some more coming next week as well, too. So the garlic is starting to show up. And right after Labor Day, probably the week after Labor Day, bulbs will start showing up, too. So tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, crocus, allium.
Yeah.
It's coming.
You know, one of our favorite traditions now is doing a bulb at Christmas time.
Oh, yeah, like amaryllis.
Amaryllis bulb.
Yeah.
Oh, they're one of our favorites. It's just fun to watch it, and it always seems to blossom right around Christmas time. Between Christmas and New Year's, it just...
Yep, they are gorgeous, gorgeous.
Just gigantic blossoms.
Yeah. We've got some really interesting new varieties of amaryllis coming this year as well, too. That'll be October. They show up the first part of October, so they're a little bit slower arriving than the tulips and the daffodils. But when bulb season shows up, it's kind of fall.
We're definitely in fall.
It's like fall's here, so
it's going to be frost on the ground in the mornings and everything else that goes along with it.
We had such a long winter. I was hoping summer would last a little longer.
Now, with the cash sale, you were mentioning earlier that you just received a new shipment of fruit trees. This was a shipment that you were waiting on for over a month.
We were hoping to get it the first part of June, end of May, 1st of June, and with the weather conditions this year, since it was so cold and so wet, they were very slow coming along in Oregon, and so we had to wait until the end of July to get them. And so they just showed up, but there's some really amazing varieties of peaches. I've got some great nectarines. We got a couple pluots, so the plum apricot combinations. We got some of those in. We've got apricots. We got cherries, apples, pears, plums, a little bit of everything. And the trees are big and they're fully leafed out, and most of them have fruit on them already. They look just absolutely amazing. So
you were mentioning once to me that one of your favorite brands of peach is the Harkin.
Yeah, it's Harkin. And it comes from Canada, so it's extra hardy. So it's a zone 4, a true zone 4 instead of a zone 5, which is where most peaches are at. And they're so sweet. Like one of the sweetest peaches you've ever eaten. So really, really good. And I'm very happy with the way my peaches and nectarines wintered this year. So we didn't have any dieback on our peaches and nectarines that are usually susceptible to weather like we had last year. So they weathered the storm very, very well, but they didn't produce any flowers. Like it froze all the blossoms on them. So not a single fruit. Actually, I have 2 donut peaches.
On the whole tree?
On the whole tree, 2. And it's right on the right next to the trunk where it was a little bit more protected. But those are the only blossoms that were on that tree. They're probably ready. I checked them the other day, and they were like really close. I gotta go pick them today. Yeah.
So if you did have a fruit tree that maybe didn't make it through winter, and I've seen a few of those around our neighborhood.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
You might want to look at maybe a little hardier brand.
Yeah, the Harkin is awesome. Reliance, Veteran, Contender, Arctic Gem, Canadian Harmony. Those are all extra hardy peaches. And then I love the Stellar series. So all those trees in the Stellar series have star in the name. So Red Star, Blushing Star, Coral Star. Super great fruit, like amazing fruit, but really, really hardy as well too. So good for areas that are a little bit colder in the valley if you want to try and do a peach and none of your neighbors have one.
Yeah.
That's usually an indication it's cold enough they're not going to make it. But Harkin.
Okay.
I've got some Harkins in right now. But my favorite fruit that we have in stock right now, hands down, best fruit of all time, Arctic J Nectarine.
Arctic J Nectarine.
Arctic J Nectarine. It is like the best fruit I've ever eaten. It's so good. Nectarines, when they're just right, they're a little bit tart and a lot sweet. And Arctic J has like some of the best texture and flavor of any fruit I've ever had. It's really good. And I've got a few of those left still.
Okay.
So Arctic J nectarine.
So a few to watch out for.
Yep.
Now, we still have 15 minutes. We can take
and
plenty
phone
of
lines
calls.
are open. Phone lines are open.
This is the time to call in, 435-753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868. As we were going to the break, we mentioned we want to talk a little bit about insects because right now, great time to treat your lawn for grubs.
Yes.
Because they're going to be coming on.
Not grubs, but sod webworms. Yeah, so we've got billbugs and grubs usually show up in July and will do their damage, and they're just kind of like their life cycles they're changing into adults right now, so they're disappearing out of the lawns. In fact, I went to someone's lawn this week. They had some billbug damage. I found a couple of them, but for the most part, they'd all turned into adults, so they're out running around laying eggs for next year. But the sod webworms are going to start showing up. It's usually the end of August, first part of September that sod webworms show up and start doing damage on lawns.
Okay.
So this is the time to treat for that. So usually we're doing like a May application and then a July-August application for the two different groups of insects. So the May application gets after grubs and billbugs. The July-August application will take care of sod webworms. Okay. And sod webworms do so much damage in a very short amount of time. You can look out there and see like a couple little small yellow spots in your lawn and go, I wonder what that, maybe it's the neighbor's dog. And then a week later you go check that out and it's like as big as your car.
So it spreads that fast.
It spreads really fast, really, really quickly, and they just chew the grass off right where it comes out of the ground, and so they don't really damage the root system like the grubs and the billbugs do. They just chew the stem of the grass off right where it comes out of the soil, and so you'll just have sections of the grass just die back. You grab the rake and you just rake it up, and it's just bare ground underneath there, but the root system's still intact, so the grass will usually come back after that. Okay. But it can do a lot of damage, and with bluegrass, it's just like going to the sod farm. They'll cut the grass off, roll the sod up, take it and plant it somewhere, and then the grass comes back again. It just takes a while for it to happen. So we just don't want you to have to wait a couple months for your grass to come back.
So treating sod webworm, is it much the same as grubs?
Just like doing grubs, yep. So we're going to use like Grub Free Zone, or I really like the Bug Blaster Plus because it's got the same ingredients as the Grub Free Zone in it, plus a contact insecticide. So it's going to work a little bit more effectively on the sod webworms where they're right on the surface of the soil. You'll get better results.
Okay.
With that particular product. You want to put it on in the evening and then water it lightly so it gets down into the soil. You can do like a regular watering, but you don't have to do like an extra heavy water. You just do like a standard water. And then it will work on contact on the surface and systemically through the root system of the grass. And it will do a very, very good job at preventing damage from your sod webworms.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you do get some damage, it's a really good time to plant and get some new grass coming up as well too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're noticing a lot of clover coming in now. That it seems like as soon as the rain came in, it just turned every lawn in the neighborhood green again. But the clover and the morning glory was like, hey,
went crazy.
Time for us to go crazy.
Went crazy as well too. So we're seeing lots and lots of weeds, and with the temperatures cooling down into the 80s, we can start spraying for weeds as well too. So if you've got dandelions or clover or mallow or thistle, morning glory, there's a lot of weeds we can really get under control right now. So Weed Free Zone from Fertilome is probably our go-to. It works quick, works on the hardest to kill weeds, it works fast, and just knocks them down. And sometimes less than 24 hours, you'll see those weeds curling up and dying. So where we're experiencing 80s. All those herbicides will do a really great job. When it's up in the 90s, we prefer to not spray because it can do a little bit of damage to the grass. But 80s works great. Those nice warm temperatures, you'll have really good results. And in the fall, the plants are recognizing that the weather's changing as well too, and so they're starting to take the strength that they're creating in the leaves, with the photosynthesis. They're taking that energy and they're running it down the root system to store it for the winter time. Well, they think the weed killers are fertilizer, and so they'll take that herbicide and run it down the root system to store it for the wintertime, and it will kill it very, very well, very effectively from the root system all the way out.
Okay.
Yeah, good way to go.
Now, we were mentioning before we went to the break too, a great story about
a really good
somebody.
story. Yeah. So over the last over the last few weeks, months, in fact, we've been talking about great ways to rejuvenate your lawn. So you can spray with like Killzall or Decimate and kill a section, mow it down really close, and then overseed. So my good friend came in and we talked about this. He's like, I've got one section. I think I just need to kill it out. And I was like, great, sounds good. Let's do this. So I got him started on the process. He sprayed the lawn, but then they were going to be gone for a week, which was perfect because he got his 2 applications on. They took off for a week, and his neighbor takes care of. Like when they leave, their neighbor takes care of their yard, and when their neighbor leaves, they take care of their yard while they're gone. So he's gone for a week, and he
probably forgot to tell the neighbor.
Didn't tell the neighbor that. And so he said he got back, and his neighbor was just like sick about it because he was afraid that his lawn had died while he was gone. And so he was out there watering it like crazy and fertilizing, trying to get the grass to come back, and
it was dead.
And he's like, I'm so sorry, Brad. I'm so sorry. It's like I didn't know what to do. And he's just like laughing. He's going, I sprayed it. And so now he's mowed it right down to the ground. And apologized to his neighbor, took him a treat. Mowed it right down to the ground, put a little bit of topsoil over the top of that dead spot, and then we're gonna put some seed on. It came in yesterday, got seed, and rake that seed in, and then just a little bit of moisture 2 or 3 times a day, just to keep that soil slightly moist, that seed slightly moist. He'll have grass up in a week.
Coming right back.
Yeah, I don't think his wife's really excited about it either. But I told him, I said, just tell her, Mark said, in about a week or 10 days, you're gonna have new grass coming up. It's gonna look great.
Great.
Yeah. And our good friend Todd has been planting stuff around his house as well too. And he planted our new variety of grass, the Eden. So the Eden with the really drought tolerant bluegrass and dwarf turf type fescue, and he sent me pictures yesterday. It looks amazing.
Already starting to come up.
Yeah, it looks awesome. So he planted it 2 weeks ago, and he's ready to mow it.
Oh,
2
weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. So it's well, I guess he planted it 3 weeks ago, but it's now 2 weeks old.
Oh, okay.
And it's going. It's going crazy. Yeah, it's going crazy. So
okay, so if you are looking to beautify your lawn, or maybe you just notice there's one area that just really struggles, and we've talked about this too over the years. A lot of us, oftentimes, you move into a home, you never think about the lawn.
No,
how long that lawn has been there.
Yeah.
Chances are, I think of a couple of the homes I've lived in. 40-year-old lawns.
Yeah. And then the grass varieties have changed. They're more drought resistant. They're more insect resistant. They stay green longer with less water, less maintenance. They don't grow as fast. And they look great. And there's so many advantages to having some turf in your yard. Not saying you got to have an acre full of just grass, but having the turf with some landscape and some trees, it just cools your property down. And cumulatively, if we're all doing that, and we've all got trees and plants and a little bit of turf, it cools our environment down as well too. So what's interesting is they're redoing the parking lot behind the store for the new plaza. So they're redoing that parking lot. So they came in and they cut a bunch of the trees out that were along that center strip there in the parking lot. And it's crazy how much of a difference just those few trees right down the middle of the block made a difference.
Just feel how
in the temperature.
It is.
Yeah. It's like a huge difference because they were pretty good sized trees. They'd been there for probably 25 or 30 years, those locusts, but they dropped pods all over the place. So it was just kind of a giant mess. In the fall, we're always just sweeping up pods and it just would make a giant mess. So they're going to take all those locusts out and they're going to replace them with a tree that doesn't drop stuff. And so the trees will be going back in there, but they're just going to be a different type of tree. And so we're excited to see that happen. So that will be really nice. But it's amazing what a difference in temperature there is in the parking lot because those trees are not there.
Okay.
Yeah, huge difference. Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a question for Mark, we've still got 7 minutes of the show. 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. We could probably squeeze in just a couple more calls. Yeah. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, and then we started answering phone calls, but tobacco budworms right now. You mentioned if you want to see what they can do, just drive down Center Street because they're taking out all the blossoms on the hanging baskets.
But not for long. Not for long. So we actually treat for tobacco budworms all summer long because we know that they just are going to show up no matter whether we like it or not. They're just going to show up. And they eat the flowers mostly. Sometimes they'll eat a little bit of the plant as well, but mostly they go after the flowers on petunias and geraniums. And so we try and prevent those as much as possible. The tobacco budworms are really adept at hiding, so they're camouflaged, and so you can hardly see them along the stems of the plants that they're eating. And so your plants look great, they're blooming, they look awesome, and then all of a sudden, just a few days later, you're just like, where'd all the flowers go? There's no flowers. And you can see that they've nibbled the blossoms and nibbled the buds that are ready to open up. They've eaten the buds out before they open. And so you've got plants that look healthy and amazing, and they don't have a single flower on them. And so those tobacco budworms, they just go after those buds. And so we will spray with a couple different options. If you want to go organic, Spinosad does a really, really great job. In fact, this week we sprayed with Spinosad, and the Spinosad soap works exceptionally well as well. So those are two really good options if you want a natural control, and that won't hurt your bees either. And so the Spinosad safe, usually want to spray in the evenings, and it will kill the caterpillars on contact as well as if they eat it. Okay. So if they consume the flower buds and it's got the Spinosad on it, it will kill them. And so very, very effective. 7 works well. We use Sayonara. Sayonara is awesome. We have used a lot of different synthetic pyrethroid products, so Bug Blast or permethrin, any of those will work very well. But you got to be consistent because the adult moth looks kind of like a hummingbird. So its wings, it beats its wings really, really fast.
And it's a little larger, too.
It's a bigger hummingbird. It's got kind of a long snout, and you see them in the evening, and they're just going after the petunias and the geraniums, and they look like they're gathering pollen, but they're actually laying eggs. Yeah, they look like they're laying eggs, and when those eggs hatch out, they just eat those flowers like crazy. Yeah. So tobacco budworm, the adult looks like a moth, a large moth that kind of appears to be hummingbird-like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So consistency, when you talk about you have to consistently do this, is about every month?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah, we spray every 2 weeks to try and prevent them. But I think our last spray, like we just finished spraying, and then like huge thunderstorm, and it just rained like crazy.
Washed it all off.
Yeah, so that's what I'm concerned about. So we sprayed again the other day. So probably by midweek next week, the flowers will be going crazy again. So yeah. But that's what happens when your plants look really healthy and they look really good, but they don't have any flowers on them. It's the tobacco budworms.
Okay. Yeah. So great way to be able to check and help keep those plants blooming and blossoming as we head into the fall months. Yeah. Now, we've only got just 2 minutes left, Mark, and want to mention if people are just tuning in, special sale going on.
Cash sale.
This week, and it's now up to 50%.
Yeah, yep. So we do our cash clearance sale every year, and this is the time where we hit the 50% mark. And if you pay with cash, and that's the old-fashioned cash, that's not debit card, that's not credit card, real cash, you get an extra 10% off. And so all of our trees and shrubs, vines, evergreens, they are 40% off. But if you pay with cash, you get an extra 10, and so you get that 50% off. So half price sale going on at Anderson's right now if you pay with cash. And there's some really great plants left, some really nice stuff. And the perennials are included in that sale as well, too. So we got the perennials are half price. And the only thing that we're not doing on sale is there's a couple individual items, and then those new fruit trees that came in that we talked about earlier on the show. And so we've got a few fruit trees. Well, actually, a lot of fruit trees, but they look amazing.
A lot of fruit trees in stock,
so
good time to plant
nice.
them.
Yeah, but they are on sale, so they're 25% off. So it's just don't get the 50 on those. But otherwise, all the rest of the stuff's 50% off. Pay with cash.
Okay.
Yeah. good way to go. Garlic bulbs just arrived yesterday, so we have a lot of great varieties of garlic, and it's a good time to plant those. Good time to take those home and eat. Make a little pasta sauce, all kinds of good things with the garlic, so it's all right. And watch for bugs, spider mites, budworms, wasps, grasshoppers, sod webworms. Lots of insects. Yeah,
and make sure you have on the calendar a month from now.
Yep,
we're going to even be doing the show live from the Pumpkin Festival.
Yep.
Coming up a month from now, and 23rd of September, all-day event happening along Center Street. Tire Street's going to be blocked off,
closed off.
So.
Lots of fun, tons of kids' activities. They'll be weighing not just the giant pumpkins, but giant watermelons and tomatoes and a bunch of other things as well too. So it should be a blast with lots of activities, free movies, all kinds of things going on. So yeah, lots of fun. A month from today, 23rd of September.
So
it's coming up.
We hope you join us again. Next week, again, it'll be a late show after the Aggie game, about 4 o'clock next Saturday here on KVNU Logan.
America is ours.
KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.